My name is Giorgio Monti. I'm a professor of competition law at the University of Tilburg and at the European University Institute. Today we have a seminar looking at state aid policy, looking into the future. And it's largely based on a study that was carried out by the European University Institute together with Spark Legal Network, Ecorys and Caselex, exploring the enforcement of state aid.
So what is national state aid enforcement all about?
State aid enforcement is usually a matter between the member state wishing to grant the aid and the European Commission, and a discussion is entered into as to whether the aid may be granted or not. However, sometimes member states fail to notify the measures that they wish to implement, and therefore national courts are called upon to preserve the rights of the parties that are harmed as a result of this unlawful grant of state aid.
You mentioned a study previously. What are the main findings of this study?
The study was commissioned by Director General for Competition. They wished to find out over the last 10 years how many cases there had been in front of national courts dealing with competition with state aid, and asking the questions as to what difficulties national courts found in addressing these cases. The study discovered that there were approximately 760 cases across all member states of the European Union, relatively evenly spread. The encouraging thing about the study is that about 20% of the cases dealt with litigation where the beneficiary claimed against the member state, rejecting the member state's wish to recover the aid that had been unlawfully granted. This is good news because the number is relatively low. It means that beneficiaries have understood that if they obtain subsidies illegally from the state, that this money should be returned, and the process is now seen to be legitimate. It wasn't so 20 years ago. The less encouraging finding is that of the 80% of other cases, which are cases where people seek damages or some other form of redress against the state granting illegal state aid, very few were success. Well, there were 5 successful cases in France, and that is about it. So more work needs to be done in creating space for litigants to assert their rights effectively within the European Union.
And what are the lessons for the future?
The lessons for the future are mostly to do, in my view, with how member states manage state aid. So what we've discovered is that in a number of member states, for example the Netherlands, specific procedures have been put into place to make sure that aid can be recovered quickly, effectively, and with respecting the beneficiary's procedural rights. The other thing that we've discovered is that some member states are very good at evaluating ex post whether the aid that has been granted is incompatible, and within their own legal order creating a system for recovery. And I think this can easily complement the Commission's efforts at public enforcement.